All right, guys, so today we're going to be talking about the future of the My Hero Academia story. Spoiler warning here, we're going deep into the current manga, so if you don't want to know what's going to happen, I suggest you check out now. But in order to talk about this, I brought my boys with me for this one. So first we got Truth Hero. What's up, Truth?
Hey, how's it going?
And we got a newcomer to the channel, Turtle Quirk. What's up, Turtle?
Hey man, how you doing? Happy to be here.
So we're going to be talking about, like I said, the future of the story because we are coming to seemingly the biggest arc of the series, I suppose. All of the storylines that have been initiated since the beginning are all converging right now, seemingly in like a war, I guess, because we're going to see the Paranormal Liberation Front take on the lacking heroes, I'll say, and we'll get into that, of course. And then we're going to talk about the possible aftermath of said war and a possible time skip or second act of the series. So let's start off with just a straight up discussion of what do you see happening in this alleged war that's going to happen?
So yeah, I was thinking that basically a lot of what is about to happen depends on the state of Shigaraki, because up until this point, like, we know he's been, getting his power up for a long time now, but what that actually looks like, I guess, will depend on how this war is going to go. Because if he comes out of the hospital and suddenly he has like infinite quirks or however many quirks Ujiko is going to give him, then it's possible he could just wipe out like the vast majority of the heroes in like a single swoop. Or it's possible that, looking at the last chapter, there was kind of that little bit, I don't know if you guys saw it, it's almost like a vision of Shigaraki walking in front of everyone and he's just like decaying an entire city behind him with his feet. It's possible that even if he just had that level of power, he can still decay the majority of the heroes in like just one go.
Yeah, that's where him and the rest of the Paranormal Liberation Front, they're talking about what they're going to actually do to these lawless and destroyed cities, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you on that. I think a lot of these arcs, I think the heroes are actually trying to be proactive and not just reactive. So when they're evacuating the city, I think they're planning on raiding it. But what's going to happen is they're going to fight the villains, they're going to fight twice, and maybe he can clone high-end Nomu, and it's going to be really bad on both sides. And then it's going to get worse for the heroes because Shigaraki's going to get out of the hospital. He's going to have his power up, and it's, in anime you think you beat them, but then, they go into their final form.
See, that's the thing, is that that's a good question. It's like, what's Shigaraki going to be like? I assume he's going to be like, I don't know, like a pseudo Nomu or something. He already looked like definitely changing when we saw like a brief glimpse of him coming out of that cocoon. What exactly is he becoming? Well, I assume that his body is altering so that he can have all for one, or something that maybe they've been developing, kind of like a synthetic form of all for one. But then also, if he is going to get just standard all for one, that, we'll go into the Tartarus prison break, which may or may not happen at this point. Also, it goes back into the quirk singularity and what Yujiko was talking about, the software and the hardware. And that was one of the issues that All For One himself had with his own quirk. His hardware couldn't match the software that came with it. And I suppose that is why he is upgrading Shigaraki in order to be able to have the hardware fitted for the software that is going to come.
Yeah, I feel like whatever Shigaraki is about to get, it will be a step above All For One. Not just because of what Ujiko said about him getting one for all, but also like I'm assuming Heroes Rising, like, that is canon, right? That's what I've heard anyway.
See, that's the weird thing. It's like, even with the original movie, it's somewhere in between canon and non-canon. At least that's what Horikoshi himself said. He said it aligns with the story or something like that. But then it's like, okay, so does that mean Wolfram is like in the story, and what Wolfram did on Island actually happened? It's like they never talk about it, so you don't know.
Yeah, it does get confusing. Like, if Heroes Rising was canon, then we from the trailers you can see that 9 basically has All For One. Like, he can take quirks and he can gather like as many, basically up to 9 quirks, but seems like even more, to be honest, because he tried to take All For One as well. Or sorry, one for all. So what I'm thinking is that whatever Shigaraki is going to get is going to be better than that, because that was a test run. So not sure what could be better than All For One, but it's definitely going to be an upgrade.
Well, we actually know it's going to be better because it said in the story, well, when Shigaraki originally learns that he's going to get this power up, it's going to be something that allows him to take one for all. So
yeah,
it's like an all for one that can actually bypass the safeguard in Deku's quirk, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, because he wouldn't have just said that for no reason. It's obviously like it's so powerful that he can just straight up just take that from him. And then that goes into the question Do you guys think this is like a legitimate Chekhov's gun setup here as to where like Shigaraki is going to get one for all, or does it not happen? What do you think happens with that?
Well, I mean, yeah, you guys know my theory. I mean, I do think that he will take one for all from Deku. It's kind of been set up in that way. If my theory was to pan out, then yeah, he takes it from Deku. The society basically just goes into lawlessness, and then a bunch of crazy stuff happens with Eri's quirk. That's the way I'm thinking right now. Even if my theory doesn't pan out exactly, I'm still thinking that he does take one for all, just because it was such a blatant setup that if Shigaraki doesn't at least attempt to take it, it's like, why did you even say that, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's for sure going to go after Deku and try to take his quirk. Now that you mentioned Eri, though, that's really interesting because, I mean, I'm more on the side that she can't rewind someone and give them their quirk back, but we just haven't seen it yet. However, she is training her quirk as we speak with Aizawa. So I think we're going to have this war arc, but in the background, maybe Eri's going to develop as a character too.
We all know like the overhaul arc was the longest arc, and the focus of that arc was all about saving Eri. You don't spend an entire arc saving someone if they're not going to be important to the story. And when you have such an essentially an overpowered quirk like this on the hero side, it's something that gives them an advantage because, you know, we've all seen My Villain Academia. We know that the villains outmatch the heroes greatly, and then when you factor in from that last panel twice potentially copying the higher Nomus, like the heroes are screwed. Like they have no chance. So
Yeah.
Eri is their one tool. It's like the one thing they can step back and say, okay, we have this. They don't have anything like this. So we can hopefully use Eri in a way that potentially the villains cannot counter.
That was another thing that really blew my mind reading 258 is when you see twice replicating the high-end Nomus, because it was already overkill at that point. Like we were just establishing, they are overpowered. There is a serious power creep within the villains of this series, and it's probably intentional because Horikoshi wants you to feel helplessness. He's like basically telling you that there's no way that the heroes can win this. They are going to take the L here, and then you're just going to have to accept it because it was never really a fight that they could win in the first place. Unless, I don't know, there's some crazy Deus Ex that happens and somehow the heroes can pull this out. And that brings us back to Eri. She could be that Deus Ex thing. I think the community is more or less in agreement that the issues that she's having right now with her horn and how she feels weird is that it probably means that her quirk needs to be used or something, meaning that's how it works. Like it was established that it was a stockpiling quirk when Monoma tried to use it. So now that it's acquired enough of, I don't know, time particles or whatever it has, she needs to like release it or something. And then once she releases it, it's possible that this might cause something that ends the war or something. Like it's a big chain reaction that just rewinds the entire war back to zero, if that makes sense. And then everyone goes their separate ways or something like that. Ultimately, I just want to hear what you guys think is going to come of Eri's quirk.
I think at least she'll learn how to be able to control it so she can rewind anyone and heal them. I think that's her goal with Aizawa right now. Since it's a stockpiling quirk, we don't really know everything about how it works. What if she gets two horns and she can fast forward people? She can rewind them and then fast forward them, you know, heal them, break them again. I think there's too many unknown variables at this point. I don't see her actually coming into play in this war arc because she's too young and inexperienced. She could maybe help heal heroes after they've been defeated, but I don't think it's going to be where she's flying around with Deku and he's going 1000% and he's invincible again. I think it's kind of too cheap from a storytelling perspective.
Absolutely.
And I think her time will come later on in the series, but it will be interesting to see how she'll train with Aizawa.
Is Dabi going to be revealed in this arc?
Yes, I honestly think it has to happen this arc. Like, forgetting the amount of time that we've waited for this, Endeavor is the guy leading the heroes. Like, you saw that panel, he's charging ahead, he's number one. If there was ever a time when Dabi was going to reveal himself to be Toya, essentially, like, this is the time to do it, when Endeavor's leading all the heroes in front of everybody. Dabi and his crew, I think what was it, Dabi and Getin, like, they have their own squad now, right? If in front of everyone this reveal just happened, could you imagine? Like, I'm almost certain it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen now, I don't know when it will happen, because a lot of people are also saying that Endeavor might die this arc, which I'm not 100% sold on just yet, but that is a possibility. And like, there's no way that this reveal would happen when Endeavor was dead. So before he dies, this has got to get out of there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sold on the fact that Endeavor will die in this arc. I think he'll definitely be battle scarred. But what I think is, a few chapters before this, we saw the whole thing where that villain, I forget what his name was. Oh, Ending. What a weird name. I'm not sure really why Ending attacked Endeavor and his household and took Natsuo as a hostage, other than some character development for them. But what I see happening in this arc is Dabi now has the power of his Violet Raid Squad with Gaten. I think he's going to target Endeavor personally. He's always struck me as a rogue character, and he might not even follow what he's supposed to do with the Paranormal Liberation Front. Maybe he doesn't even follow orders and goes directly after Enji Todoroki and says, hey, I'm your son Toya. It'll also give an opportunity for Shoto and Endeavor to fight side by side Dabi and Gaten.
I like that.
That'd be awesome. When I'm thinking about the Pro Hero arc, like that was obviously the ultimate bait and switch. Like we all thought it was going to be revealed then. The fact that, you know, it's been what, like over quite a few chapters now, over about 50 or 60 chapters since then. And now we're getting to this point in the story where the war's about to happen. There's no better time, really.
It would just be perfect. I mean, we thought it was going to happen multiple times, like the Pro Hero arc and My Villain Academia. We're like, oh, the villains are going to get their own arc, so I guess this means when Dabi gets his backstory. But no, actually, it was the reverse. Dabi had like the least amount of time in that arc.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next lingering storyline, something that's pretty complex, and that is Hawks, the triple agent.
Yeah, just off the top, like I am seeing from the latest chapter that he is starting to like sympathize a lot with Twice and what Twice has been through, but I don't actually think he's a triple agent. I do still think he's on the side of the heroes, because from what I've seen of Hawk since the very beginning, he's kind of a guy who like he's sort of like a chaotic good. Like he's willing to do bad things to get a good outcome. But every time he does a bad thing, you always see that he has good intentions behind it. At this point, I'm not seeing him being a triple agent. I do still think he is on the side of the heroes, and I think it will remain that way. I don't think he'll flip. But I do think that this relationship that he's building with Twice will make it that much more difficult when he does eventually reveal that, oh yeah, I was working with the heroes the whole time. And potentially that actually, Truth, I remember seeing one of your videos, you said that, you know, Hawks is flying a bit too close to the sun, if you know what I mean. So I think that by getting too close to Twice and building that friendship, when he does flip, the punishment might be 10 times worse than it would have been.
Yeah, definitely. Hawks is the embodiment of Icarus. And to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of lost on like what side he's on. I mean, I do think he's still with the heroes, but it's so hard to tell because he's so friendly with Twice, yet Shigaraki doesn't trust him, rightfully so. I don't really see him as someone that would betray the heroes just for the villains, because I don't even think he wants to be a villain. It's not that he doesn't want to be a hero so he'll go to the dark side. I don't think he doesn't want any of it. So he'd probably just quit, if anything. He just wants leisure time, like we saw when that chapter really introduced him. He just wants to kick back and drink beer. But I definitely think Twice is a person that could be influenced. Maybe Shigaraki might counter that somehow, and that's how Hawks will be outed. But I'm just wondering what type of trap is laid for either side, really. How is Hawks going to be revealed? Or how are the League of Villains and the Paranormal Liberation Front through Hawks going to be revealed to the heroes?
That's a great question. Because, like, when the two sides converge, it's like, what does Hawks do at that point? Is he going to be on the villain side? Is he going to be on the hero's side? Is he going to fight against the heroes to like still establish that he's on their side?
The only thing I can think of is, I mean, if you imagine a battlefield, right? There's villains on one side and heroes on the other. Hawks can't just sit in the middle and roost. That's not going to happen. So I think his role might be stealth, because he was able to capture Best Genius. We don't know if he's alive or not. And ultimately, his status will determine Hawks' moral character. But it's possible that once the heroes start their raid arc, Hawks will try to take people out before the Liberation Army or the Paranormal Liberation Front can even mobilize, and maybe he'll be found out then. You know, imagine if troops are about to march into battle and then Hawks tries to kill Twice or someone, just as a foil right before the battle. But again, it's a toss-up because the survivability of that is very limited for Hawks.
Yeah, and then when it gets to the actual battle, like, I mean, like you said, he is in a bit of a sticky situation because ultimately none of the heroes except for, what is it? It's just the government that knows. The heroes don't actually know that he's being this double agent. So once he gets to that, does Endeavor actually know?
Yeah, because Endeavor's the one who Hawks has been feeding information through giving him the
Liberation
Army book. So Endeavor and possibly his sidekicks at least know. I assume Endeavor is the one mobilizing the heroes. So top heroes in that mobilization, no.
If Endeavor was to tell the heroes and the heroes were aware of it, then it's less of a sticky situation. Because once Hawks gets on that battlefield and starts fighting, then they'll know that whose side he's really on. But if they don't know, then they actually might genuinely start to attack Hawks. Because if they didn't know and they assume that he'd turn, and we do know obviously that besides Hawks, there are a few heroes who are sympathizing with the Paranormal Liberation Front. So it wouldn't be a stretch for the other heroes to assume that, yeah, Hawks has actually turned.
That's interesting too, because any hero that doesn't know Hawks is working with the Paranormal Liberation Front for the heroes would just see him as a hero. So they would say, okay, Hawks is, he got a jump. He's already here. Whereas I think what you have to worry about is who are the heroes that are working for Shigaraki? Because they don't care. Even if they knew Hawks was leaking information, their job is still to kill heroes.
All right, let's come into one of the final topics of discussion. All Might, is he going to die this arc?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you to say it. Like, yes, he is obviously going to die this arc. The death flags have been so blatant. It's like he's not even trying to be subtle with this anymore. Like, yeah, All Might is 100% dying this arc. How he dies though, probably at the hands of Shigaraki. So whenever Shigaraki comes out of his cocoon, does what he needs to do, he is looking for All Might. Like, All Might's top of his list. Number 2 is One for All, like finding that and acquiring that power.
Because at this point, Izuku doesn't really have like a huge motive to go after Shigaraki, other than him just being the leader of the League of Villains and the interaction that they had at the end of season 2. But aside from that, Shigaraki killing All Might is the ultimate motivation for Izuku to go after him and to have like a reason for him to get stronger or whatever he needs to do. And also it just coincides with pretty much the lingering storyline that has been proposed at this point. Even when like All Might's talking to All For One, he's like, I will not let Shigaraki kill me. It's like, okay, I guess that means that he is going to kill you. And then that lines up with the gruesome death that Night Eye was talking about, because if any death is gruesome, it's definitely getting decayed by him.
So I'm thinking about this now. I don't know why it's hitting me right now, but if they do break out All For One, I think All For One he's completely content with Shigaraki ruling and being his sort of next of kin in the line of Dark Emperors, so to speak. But what if Shigaraki kills All For One? Because we don't know how he's going to come out of this transformation. We know he wants to kill All Might, but what if it's like a Sith thing where, he has to kill his master?
Yeah, because if Shigaraki is kind of like, not mad with power, but if he's like, he perceives All For One as a threat to maybe his leadership, perhaps he could do that.
I think Shigaraki would perceive anyone that gets too powerful as a threat to him. And I mean, that's if I don't know if you guys are into Star Wars, but if you read anything about the Sith, it's like they always kill their master when they think they've surpassed them or their masters start to fear them, and that's when they die.
And also the fact that, I mean, Shigaraki doesn't know at this point that All For One killed his grandma. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know that the reason All For One basically took him in as a child was essentially to take the piss out of All Might and make him pissed off in, many years' time. So perhaps when Shigaraki does find out that truth, he might feel a bit manipulated perhaps, or a bit used, and maybe that could be whatever triggers him killing All For One potentially.
Actually, that's a great point. I think that's probably going to be the catalyst, because that has yet to be revealed too. And also the fact that it's very likely that All For One gave Shigaraki the decay quirk via, using Yujiko as well. It's implied that it's like a synthetic quirk, and I think it is. And, that mark that we see on Shigaraki's hand, like in the flashback of him, that was probably like some kind of injection or something that gave him that quirk and allowed it to manifest at that specific point in time. So I'm sure that this will come as a revelation, and it'll be like, yeah, taking you out or whatever.
Like, I actually buy into that theory as well, because I find like the fact that Shigaraki had that decay quirk, which then enabled him to accidentally kill his family, that was all a bit too convenient for All For One. Because let's say he didn't have that decay quirk, okay, then how does his family die? His family probably doesn't die. So I feel like everything played into All For One's plan, and the only way for that to happen really was for him to have given him the decay quirk, in my opinion anyway. So yeah, I do think he gave it to him.
So we'll come into the final portion. That is the alleged or possible time skip that might happen with the series. So do you guys think that this might happen? I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the villains are very likely going to win this, or at least it's going to side in the favor of the villains at the end of this war. Like, All Might's gonna die. It's possible that Endeavor might die. as well as many other heroes. At that point, it's, you know, a better time than ever to go into a time skip, meaning that, I don't know, 2 years or something like that into the future, the students would be like 17 years old or something like that. So they would be like, you know, third years at that point, kind of like around where the big three currently are. So they would obviously, you know, be pro level since they pretty much are at that point. So they would all be significantly boosted in power. And then, you know, we wouldn't have to go through all the training arcs and everything. They would all basically have development on their own. And then that would lead into them just trying to have an uprising against the Paranormal Liberation Front, which are also going to be boosted at that point and way more established. So what are you guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I'm not like against a time skip, but I do feel like if it was a scenario like what you said, the show would stop being, I mean, it would basically stop being about academia at all, right? Because once there's a lawless society, which is what the Paranormal Liberation Front want, then essentially when you have a 2-year time skip, these guys aren't ever going back to school. Like, they are full-on adult warriors. So I'm not against it, but it would just fundamentally change what the show has been about, like, up until this point. But do I think it will actually happen? Not that far in the future, no. I think there might be a time skip if a certain like big event happens, like for example All Might dying or Endeavor dying, but I don't see like a massive like 2-year type time skip personally.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think if you have a 2-year time skip, it's not My Hero Academia, it's My Hero Academia, or My Hero We Graduated Already. So the thing I'm wondering is, Horikoshi has said that he wanted to keep this a relatively short series, and I'm wondering if he's kind of changed his mind about things, because Naruto, like the creator has said, like he originally designed it to end after he fought Pain, but you know, then it continued. And Bleach sort of did the same thing. I don't know if he tried to do it, but it sort of extended because people just loved it too much. I think what might happen is, I don't see how the heroes could recover after they lose. That's the only thing. So maybe Eri plays the role of Hope in all this, like Pandora's box, but you might get a brief time skip after All Might dies, or after maybe Endeavor's taken out of commission. You know, maybe you'll begin like the arc after a funeral or something. I don't see it going 2 years into the future, but I do see it going up to the time where all the students graduate and then become pro heroes. I think, you know, this is one hell of a first year for students that are trying to be heroes. And I think their final mission as UA students, their graduation goal would be to take out Shigaraki and the Paranormal Liberation Front. And then after that, they must have the easiest jobs as professional heroes ever, because what's more daunting of a task than that?
Singularity, bro. Singularity.
Oh,
all these
yeah,
powerful
that's right.
quirks.
These quirks are going to be too powerful. Babies are just going to be pure energy now.
Yeah.
So one thing that I want to just expand upon is that the Horikoshi line, the infamous line about him not wanting to have the series too long. Now, that could be true. I certainly hope it isn't, but it could also be taken multiple ways. So that means that My Hero Academia wasn't going to be that long, meaning that it's probably going to wrap up around, I don't know, chapter 300 and something maybe. I mean, if we're just assuming how long the rest of the series could play out at this point. And then we go into My Hero Shippuden or whatever. I mean, it's not necessarily about the students anymore. It's just about Hero Society. So it's like My Hero Society, or I don't know, something, My Hero Career. And then we go into a second series, which, you know, Naruto has done, or he does end, and it's just, we're looking at the end game of the series right now.
If you look at how My Hero Academia originally started, it's not too far-fetched to think that Horikoshi might take the series and make it into something different, like My Hero Graduation or My Hero Retirement. I don't know. You could do something like My Hero Apocalypse. I'm sure stuff like that's been done in Marvel, where like the whole universe is destroyed and they have to like go into a different dimension. So he could do something like that where villains rule the world and, you know, heroes have to make a stand. It would be nice to see them graduate, but I get it. There's only so many like school training arcs you can do before the villains, you know, complete their goal.
I kind of do want to see them finish school, like do second year, third year kind of thing. Like, I would love another sports festival. Like, that was one of my favorite arcs ever. So like stuff like that, like I do enjoy it. So I wouldn't want this to be the end of these, you know, academia part of everything. But yeah, just thinking about it, like the way things are going right now, if the villains do win this war, which they probably will, then yeah, there is the possibility that that doesn't end up happening.
You have 100,000 soldiers. You have whatever Shigaraki's ridiculous quirk is going to be. You have Twice and his awakened abilities. You have Toga and her awakened abilities. And I mean, maybe Mr. Compress and Spinner are gonna shine somehow, and then you have Gatan and the rest of the Liberation Army people. I mean, how do you fight that? I mean,
You
it
know
took
what?
a whole band of heroes to take down Chisaki, as we're seeing in the anime right now. I can't imagine that they can do this against the Paranormal Liberation Front. I mean, I'll be rooting for them, but it's like, okay.
You know what? My theory. This is a ridiculous theory, by the way. The way the heroes could win, right? Get Twice to flip, make clones of Professor Aizawa. You've won the war. You've won the war. If you have like 1,000 Professor Aizawas, you've won. Get Twice to flip and you won it. Trust me.
Next level.
That seed has been planted though, about him possibly flipping.
Yeah, it has. Like, if any of the villains were gonna flip, it would be Twice.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We could just talk for like another hour probably if we wanted to. So such interesting stuff to talk about. Once again, I want to thank you guys for deciding to all come together, have this discussion, which was probably much needed. We needed to, air all of this stuff because there is a lot happening and we are going into like this major arc. So thank you again, Truth and Turtle, for coming by.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. And hopefully we could do stuff like this more often. But I'll have these guys' channels in the end of this video, as well as links in the description. But if you liked it, please give it a like and subscribe to all of us. Have a great day. That's it.